Goody. I'll eat this in my room.
I'm live,
I
by the
did.
way, y'all. I'm streaming now.
Look.
Turkey's good. I don't know what they do. Must have had more fat.
90-10.
Sits forever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Talk to the crowd real quick. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just checking in with y'all. We are going live tonight again, starting a little bit earlier. Different friends of mine that might want to jump on, they'll see it. I'm editing thumbnails, hanging out with my wife while she's playing the Division, Lady Witch Doctor. My little bro, he's my little man. He's here eating with us too, but he's off camera at the moment. Behind me is Secundus, Yeshua, and Salome. Made them as culturally accurate for a girl from Galilee, but I think of my wife when I think of Salome. She blonde hair, blue eyed as it gets. but she pure Icelandic. Actually German, but German, and all that northern blood came down. That's why Stevie is so blonde. But anyway, back to the show for now. If you guys are driving home from work, you guys are getting home, you're at the gym, finding things to do, we're going to be live for hours tonight. So if you're rewatching this and it's the 13th, fast forward if you don't want to watch any gameplay, but I like watching people just play the games. That's just something I've always liked. If you don't like it, you ain't got to watch this channel. It's somebody bitching about that yesterday. I was like, you were enjoying the conversation until I started streaming without sound a game. Well, y'all can just stare at their lips moving if you want to, but I wanted to give y'all another option. Let's just watch something besides us just doing this for 3 fucking hours. So Jesus Christ. So I put a little game in the corner. Who cares? Everybody here watches just stupid ass video games just like I do. If you're on the computer right now watching Witch Doctor, you probably, there's an 8 out of 10 chance that you play some kind of game. At least at one point in your life. If you're really old, you had a little Atari or something, and you knew kids had every electronic device since birth. So yeah, it's The Division.
Every iPad could be like.
Yeah.
When they speak.
Well, kids now, they've had streaming television on demand instead of having to watch Home Improvement because it's the only thing on at 6 p.m. or whatever. Now kids watch whatever they want to.
So, when iPad kids say their first word, give me the iPad. That's what I think of when you think of iPad kids.
All right, I'm getting some food. My mic is on, okay. So.
I did. I eat brownie.
You don't fish that?
Back in the field. Kemarin.
You have any buddies joining?
Probably. It's so early. I just said screw it. Ooh.
Banana, Mayo, banana. Banana, Mayo, banana.
But a nice. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Cool. What you been up to, bro? I know it's only been a few hours.
Yeah, I was reading this really cool fucking graphic novel by Alan Moore. It's the same guy who wrote The Watchmen and V for Vendetta and those books. But it's neat. It's based on like the Lovecraft, the H.P. Lovecraft mythos and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's a really cool read. It's like it's funny because there's a language. We were talking about languages last night. There's a language in this book that's basically like it's like the language itself is what's psychoactive, and so hearing the language like brings people into their body and shit like that. It's really neat.
Really?
But it brings you to like this crazy demon world, but like they're killing people when you hear it and shit. But like it's a cool. In the book they describe it as the language at the threshold, and the language is what brings you through the threshold to see these different deities and shit.
Is the language?
Yeah. The language is the drug. Like, because it opens up with this like FBI agent investigating this like cult, and he like sees all these kids, and they're like they went on this new drug acro. Then he goes and tries to get some acro. Acro's the name of the language, by the way. And he goes and he gets his first hit of acro, and the dude leans in and whispers all this gibberish into his ear. Then he goes crazy and kills someone. It's cool, man. I don't want to reveal too much more of the story.
Oh, okay. And what was this called?
Well, it's a trilogy by Alan Moore. There's the first part is like 2 comic books called The Courtyard, and then he did the second part's called The Neonomicon. It's like the Necronomicon, but with Neo at the start of it, Neo, which is
Right.
cool, which is 4 more comics, and those like 6 comics have been compiled together. And then there's the big final part of the trilogy, which is called Providence, and it's like 600 pages. I'm just starting that now. I read the first half. I read the first like 6 or 7 books like an hour ago, basically.
Oh yeah.
It's really fucking cool. Yeah.
Alan Moore.
Yeah. The same guy who did he wrote. He's basically written like all the top graphic novels to ever exist, like Batman Year One.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, he did Frank. No, Frank Miller did Batman Shows, but he did Batman Year One. He did The Watchmen. He did V for Vendetta. The guys are well known writer.
Right.
But his Lovecraft trilogy, holy fuck! I can't wait to finish it.
Got Alan Moore, born.
Yeah.
He's British, born 18 November 1953. He's an English author known primarily for his work comics, including Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Ballad of Halo Jones, Swamp Thing, Batman, The Killing Joke, Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, From Hell. Oh, From Hell. He is widely recognized among his peers and critics as one of the best comic book writers in the English language. Moore occasionally used such pseudonyms such as Kurt Vile, Jill D. Ray, Bilburn Logue, and Translucia Baboon. Also, reprints of some of his work have been credited to the original writer. There's your dude. That's in 2008.
Yeah. He's a cool cat, man.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. Do you know who drew the? I'll pull this up. Do you know who drew the Superman or the X-Men trading cards from the 90s?
Every card was drawn by a different person. They all had different. I have every X-Men card from 96, like over there. I have all of them. And if you put them all together, it makes a comic book. The backs of them, making comments.
Oh,
Each
okay.
page refers to a comment. But
Know that.
hold on, I'll show you something cool here.
I think I got a crazy delay. Somewhat.
So like I've got this stash here because I see the stash. But see, you used to be able to get them with the artist's signature on it.
Oh, cool.
Like you get them like they have the signatures on the cards. Like these are all ones I have with signatures on it.
Right.
This is a whole stack of signature cards. Not that a lot. But I have this whole set too. This is the Spider-Man set.
Right. No, that's cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I got all these signatures. Holy shit.
Yeah, I do have there is a delay, but I think it's just because you're all the way in Canada.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, it could be because you're using too much hearing.
Could be.
Because I'm not hearing. There's no delay on my end at all.
Yeah, I don't hear a delay. I just see a delay, I think, but I could be.
Oh yeah, I don't see a delay on my end either. So it's probably you're probably using a lot of bandwidth at your house.
Yeah, sometimes when I go to share screen, it freezes the picture.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's not annoying.
Right. Shoot, we've been doing a lot today, man. We went to the gym. We both did cardio. We had a fence guy come out and fix the fence. We had Nikki was washing off the back porch because we have so many chickens that have been just staying underneath there because the chicken coops were destroyed from the tornado.
Yeah.
We had what else? We had to go get her new car yesterday. We got the roof beat. Oh, the solar guys came earlier and took the solar panels off the house. Now we have the roofers coming tomorrow. I sold 3 goats. I sold my main buck, Kilgore.
Okay.
And I sold 2 of his boys with him. One of them was named Lord Cameron, and he was born after Lord Cameron moved here, like the second day, probably the day of. And then the other one's name was Andy. He's my other friend from South Carolina. But both of them were just like the ones before them from the same moms, which was Neil and Derek. Neil Sinlack from Gnostic Informant, and then Myth Vision Derek. So I named them that. And there was a little twin boy that we also sold that we named Dr. Ramon Hillman. And he was the smallest little pure black goat, you know. So Trudy had 3 goats. She had triplets. One of them didn't make it. The other one wasn't walking. And then the other one's out there. He's blue eyes and he's like caramel, salted caramel kind of theme going on. If he was an ice cream, you know, he looks really great. And we sold 3 boys today. And it's every time you sell goats, it's like the farm seems quieter, stiller, even though they weren't making any noise.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were making noise. It's just not enough for you to notice. But now
they're a little in shock because all of a sudden here goes Kilgore, and then here goes Andy, then here goes Lord Cameron. You know, we just yanked them up and tossed them in the trailer. But I think he's going to. These 3 babies are going to. Well, one's had 5 or 6 different rounds of kids now, but they're going to a family that I think has a crap ton of animals. You know, the biggest thing that you could. So there's a whole underworld here in Texas. There's a Hispanic underworld here where there's cockfighting, there's gambling, there's, gentlemen's clubs you probably hadn't heard about, you know, that only dudes involved and auxiliary to various different other groups that I won't mention any names. But sometimes we've sold a lot of these goats for meat. Now, they're not going to use them right now. We sell them at 6 months. They banned them. And then once they were a eunuch, now they can grow and not have that testosterone muscle, that softer muscle and stuff. That's probably what most of my Hispanic guys that have got goats from me do. I don't ask what they're doing with the goats, but we try to do specialty breed.
Yeah, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
Yeah, we do specialty breeds. So we have a pygmy Nigerian dwarf goats. So they're short and they're furry. And what we do is we're trying to have them all blue-eyed, right? So what we're doing is, even though Kilgore was giving us tons of blue-eyed babies, we had a little boy that we call Yeshua now. He's brown and he's got a tritone color. So we want him to be the new buck. So we had to get rid of older boys that were going to knock up the other moms. And we had to get rid of Kilgore so that he doesn't get the moms pregnant, or the other babies pregnant with him. They're only a couple of generations deep as far as the mixing. So it's not that big of a deal. We've had, the dads have bred with the second generation of his own line. And so we wanted to remove that by the third, just so that we can keep everything. We want to switch out a couple of girls. Just either find a guy who wants some blue-eyed girls or find somebody who just doesn't care. Like, we have neighbors across the street that have 4 goats to eat the grass. They wouldn't care if we switched them out, except for the fact that we feed our goats good. I think they only give theirs grass. So our goats would immediately be like,
what do you mean switch the goats in?
So like, I don't want my main buck mating with a bunch of half sisters if I can help it, just because you're better off getting some DNA that's a little bit more split apart with the initial bloodlines, So the fact that I'm using a boy that we had out here as my new buck means that we have to sell his mom or trade his mom for a different female. And people will swap goats when you have 20 in the backyard. They don't really they stop naming them. And they're like, I have a neighbor, he's a retired Army guy. And he was like, yeah, all we have is girls because we banned the boys. And I think
your neighbors only have goats.
Yeah, I have several neighbors with goats as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so out here in Texas, these neighborhoods with 1 acre are real popular for at least having a dozen chickens. And then if you're a little bit more committed, you'll have some goats, maybe a donkey, a mini donkey, which my wife wants one. So we're kind of looking for one for her, or a mini cow. And then every once in a while, you'll have somebody that has a horse or 2 in the backyard of one of these 1 acre properties. Now, the only thing good about that is if you have a sick horse and you want to keep it close to the house so that you can take care of a wound, or if it's colicking, then you want to be able to keep it close to your house. And some of these people live here, but might have like a 5 acre or something property somewhere else. They keep the bulk majority of their other animals.
Okay.
Or if you're a competition rider, you're taking your horse every couple of days a week, you're packing her up and going somewhere to ride. And that 16-year-old girl in high school wants to have her horse in the backyard, not stabled somewhere costing $300 a month, right? So you just do it in your own backyard. Obviously, they need a lot of water, and they need to have hay. They need to have feed.
It's expensive, man. They keep the horses very expensive. It's almost cheaper to put it in the stable than it is to get your own stable and have it on your own land.
Right.
People who own horses here say that it's cheaper for them to just rent stable space than it is to have a stable on their property.
So in the 90s, it was $300 to board a horse in South Carolina. And so at the time, a mortgage for an average family was $600 a month. So you're talking half a mortgage. Nowadays, I don't know what it costs. It's probably close to the same because it's not one of those things that really climbs with the market of the housing market value. But $300-$400 a month. Some people would rather get a little barn and just live on an acre. And they think they're going to ride the horses around the neighborhood, and they never do. Because who the hell wants to do that?
Yeah,
And so I think a lot of horse people end up not doing the horse thing if they're stuck on 1 acre or they move to a bigger place. Like we had neighbors across the street that had 2, and they didn't want to ride around because neighbors would bitch about them shitting in the yard. And it's like, well, they're horses. How the hell are we supposed to prevent that? Plus, it's just horse shit. Horse shit's practically not even like shit. It's like, you know, it's hard to describe. It's real dry and stuff. Well, it dries out fast. I say it's always dry when it comes out, but it's like fertilizer. Like it doesn't stink like septic tanks, you know, like human shit.
No. Yeah.
I used to work with monkeys. Try working with that shit instead of horse shit. Oh man, or even pigs. We got one pig. We got one mini pig who's not very mini at all, and she's I mean, she takes Rambo shits out there, bigger than my dog shits.
Like that.
Gigi fills the cup. She's a pretty little pig.
Oh, we got some reviews in the comments. They got a question.
Who I'm new around here. Who do you agree with, Gnostic or Hillman? Well, it's just whatever either guy said. If it's true, then that's what I agree with. So as far as this fucking stupid ass, you know, little Gnostic, you know, diva shows that's happening now where people are still beating a dead horse over definitions of Nianiskos or whatever. Like we did not forget what the age ranges of different stuff. We totally get it. But on this show, we've also had other authors that have just shared all kinds of things about the interpreting those texts that line up with Hillman because they're where Hillman got it from as well. Like Morton Smith or Jennings Jr. or any of those books that are the same, you know, want to talk about pederast shit all the time. You know, all the fucking weirdos that go to his chat every time he's live wearing a wig with their wiener in their hand or whatever the fuck they're doing. We've shown how bad his translations are and how you're not gonna get real Greek lessons out of a guy who's trying to fast track you through the Greek intensive course book, which I have on the shelf. It's this thick, you know. So the question is, why do people keep showing up to have that conversation every week? I've come to the conclusion that it's because they are still the 7th grade atheists that want to piss off whoever. And if they go and watch the show, well, because they're not really they're not doing that stuff. They're not hurting anybody, but just knowing how many scholars and obviously Christians despise Hillman. He's got an army of fucking losers that will support him no matter what. No matter how wrong he is, no matter how his practices at home. Well, look, like having that conversation in front of your daughters their whole life. And I'm sorry to interrupt you so much. Somebody was saying that I was interrupting everybody yesterday. It's like, I don't ever get a fuking chance to talk, number one. So I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I'm interrupting you here, but go ahead.
I let a lot of people just talk, and I never participate. And sometimes you have to kind of step on people a little bit to get the full thought out. But look, if you guys want to, would you let your kids watch the show? No. Okay. But why is it okay that he talks about this shit with his daughters in the room, co-hosting their entire lives? They've heard this fucking shit. Now his daughters will probably be fine, but I'm a dad and I see a red flag. If the kids don't turn out okay, we're just going to think it's because you talked about all this purple butthole magic their whole lives. So maybe that isn't the conversation you need to have every day of a kid's life. Those are the things that I disagree with. That's why he's had CPS called on him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he brought it all on himself, whoever did that. So who do you agree with? Well, I'm going to agree with probably Neil more of the time because Gnostic's going to tell, not Gnostic, Hillman's going to tell you whatever he can get you to do on camera, whatever he can get you to do to completely embarrass yourself like Borat, he's going to do it. And he'll even dress up like it too, very shittily, by the way. I don't know how, it's not the right word, but so the guy makes a complete joke out of everybody coming on there in a wig while he's wearing some shitty ass fucking blonde wig and this bullshit spaghetti strap. And I'm just like, he ain't even trying to look like a female. He looks like a fucking joke right now. And so everybody on his show is just part of the joke. So like in the chat rooms, it's dinner for schmucks. So if you don't realize that you've been brought to this conversation this is just an analogy. You've been brought to dinner because you're going to say shit that makes everybody who knows that this is a big gag, they're going to be laughing at you on the inside while you just go, 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 go. That's what Hillman does with all of his people. Some are aware of that, some are not. So it's very genius. It's been done before, but he's doing it in his own unique way. And so I give him props on that 100%. But yeah, no, we agree with whatever is just true. Period. Doesn't matter who.
And I mean, if you're picking sides, you're already doing the wrong thing anyway. And like, it's not a. Oh, let's get this. We should move the.
I'm moving it.
Yeah. But if you're picking, like, the idea of even having to choose a side or picking a side is just, it's just ridiculous in my opinion. Like, you should be able to still listen to people you don't agree with, because you know.
Anywhere Hillman's right, I will agree.
Like, if you can't listen to people you don't agree with, they're a weak person in my opinion.
I just think it's so funny that we're talking about. Someone asked, who do we agree with, Gnostic or Hillman? And I was like, what a loaded question there. Agree with what? If it's true, we agree with. Well, he's probably trying not to take too much text, you know. But whatever's true, we've done research for a year and over 2 years now, I think, and a year and a half, and we have just looked up everything that we can to see if it is true or not. That's what this show even is. So when it comes to who do we agree with, if something true comes out of someone's mouth, I'm going to agree with it. You know, if they show a source or if it's related to this, you know.
I'm not going to agree with this. I agree that the sources exist. It doesn't, like you and I always say, like, doesn't mean we agree with what the source is saying. And there's a lot of instances too where people want to worship this Galen figure, but if you actually look up his medical text, like, a lot of the stuff that he was doing was flat out wrong. Like, it just was not accurate at all.
Oh, there's stuff in Galen that's ridiculous. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense from a medical standpoint, and anybody can look it up. I mean, but this picking sides, who's more accurate than the other, I would have to obviously side with Almond, because he's actually pulling up the sources that Neil says that they don't exist. They do exist. You have to go look for them.
A lot of people that have stumbled on his channel, I think, if this is the first time they're hearing it, and that's why I think it really takes off. You know, I don't want to have a show that's all that they talk about.
We've always said, you've always said, like, we're not here to tell people or pick sides and, you know, tell people what's right or wrong. People can go read the sources for themselves and make up their own damn mind. Now, is Neil right about some things? Yeah, Neil's right about some things too. I mean, he's not wrong about everything, but the part that I think most people have a hard time with Neil, and for me it's a big issue, is that he's gone on this polemic against Amen, and it's because of their fallout, and he's the one that's picked a side, so he always wants to throw Amen under the bus and say he's wrong. Now, Amen, you know, they kind of go back and forth. Amen obviously, you know, puts him on a show and people laugh at Neil too. But I think that Neil probably does more of it than Amen, for sure. I think that Neil also is disingenuous by just claiming that the sources don't exist when clearly they do. Amen is continuously going on his own stream and teaching people the sources. Now, could he be a little bit more upfront about some of them? Yes. Were some of the sources in some of Hillman's own literature and own published works vague as hell? Yes, some of them are vague. But if you actually read a lot of the other sources that weren't in his citations, it makes sense. But that's a lot of that. Once you start reading like Morton Smith and Jonathan Z. Smith and all of them, like, their material is super dense, because you'll, like, the first sentence in a chapter could be like, we already talked about this in this other book, so I'm not going to get into all that again. You just have to know, is reading that, like, you have to already know what that other book already says to even understand what they're talking about. It's like super dense stuff. There's pages in these guys' books where literally the citations at the bottom of the page in the footer is 3/4 of the page of the damn book. You know, citation. So if you don't understand that or read it, like Amen has, then you're not going to be able to make these links. But if you're also coming at it with a biases, like a lot of Christians are, like, you know, you guys always call out. But what is it?
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything. Sorry, I was just clicking.
No, I was reading the thing there.
Yeah,
Again, it doesn't matter. These people are saying it, well, read this and read that. Look, any scholar is going to disagree with you. There's camps. So if you find scholars that say it's this, and you go, they're wrong because they go down this other path and they think this is the truth. Like there's literally camps in all of this shit, from the thyrsus being three different things, an artichoke, a fucking magic, different interpretations of it, right? So like if you read a paper and you bring it up and you see this guy is saying it, then you'll say, well, I'm telling the truth. But then if you keep reading into all these other people's opinions, you could have a bunch of people standing on stage with 20 different opinions saying, I know the truth because I have this scholar and he's saying this, and so I must know the truth. The reality is, like, if you're not marrying it with archaeological evidence and multiple archaeological evidence, because you could just say, well, that's just one, where are the others? Then you're really not putting the pieces together that well. But the reality also is, like, this whole talk about, and I know, Marcel, you and I talk about it, but burning purple, there's so many different ingredients and compounds used in that. And just to say, well, we can't find a reference or a single source to it, to dismiss it, well, you're not looking in the correct place. I mean, you have to look at what they're making. Like, if you look up the ancient ink making process, there's scholarship on it. And you're going to find some of these psychoactive compounds being used as mortifiers and other things in the ink. And they're burning it. So if you're sitting there making the ink, you're going to get stoned off of it. You're fumigating it, basically. And so they had all of these different, and we found the vessels. Like, we literally found the vessels. We scraped the resins out of them. So these people can keep denying it, but it does exist. Now, to say that the only interpretation coming from Amen is the only thing that exists in that world, no, that's completely wrong too, because he's looking at only his sources, right? He's not looking at all of the sources.
You can kind of guess where he's going to go, usually all the time.
Yeah, like, and 85% of the fucking sources are lost to history. So are you going to stand on the hill and
not
go,
more? Shit.
I've read all of the sources, but we did lose 85 of them. But I'm the one that knows the truth.
Y'all, everybody in the chat and everybody that's ever been on the show knows more than I do about all of this. So I'll let y'all do the educating.
The problem with the term like burning purple is that it's a term Amen invented. So like that's what people get hung up on. So
burning purple.
The burning purple you and I are talking about is not the same burning purple that Amen is talking about, and that's what people seem to get caught up on because it's a neologism. Like Manny just said the thing. Burning purple is a term that Amen invented. So that's where I think why this gets lost, because people can't separate that fact. People can't separate that term from Amen now because he coined it basically. Right? Like us
it's a coined term.
Like us finding like a psychoactive substance that has purple dye in it and calling it burning purple isn't the same burning purple that I was talking about, and that just confuses people, I think. Not to say we're right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand where the confusion comes from, right?
So it said no, burning purple is what Amen says it is because of neologism invented by him. So one night, Mandy talked about neologisms, and he kept trying to get me to say the word neologism. So he could say, haha, I made you say jism. Just kind of a 90s style, bro joke, And if you are saying it's something different from him, then you're literally disagreeing with him. Yeah, I see what he's saying, for sure.
I mean, burning purple is a pretty basic term for them making dyes and fumigating mortifications and mortifiers in the dye that get you stoned. It's pretty basic.
Well, there's even if it's not even
there's no mystery behind it.
Even if it's not synergistically done, before, and let me just play around with what I've seen in the artwork, because that's kind of where I come from. I was a finger painting kid, So went to the School of the Arts, went to art, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we look at the artwork and we see a lot of what we see often. We'll see purple, sometimes red, sometimes blue, you know, gown, like robes or cloths, cindonas wrapped around dudes. And like you'll see David, you know, sometimes he's really young. Sometimes he's kind of more of a Neonisco. Sometimes he's a pipe. Like he's much younger. The artist, nobody bitches about that. When David's freaking 7 in the pictures, and then when he's 17, and then when he's 30 with a beard, nobody bitches about any of that, you know. But he's wearing the purple Sindona, and you got that horn of oil. Once you've had those oils in that cloth, I mean, even if it's not really intentional, which I'm sure to a degree it was. I don't want to quote Hillman and say impregnated with a drug, you know, but it's like, yeah, it totally was, you know, totally was purple cloths getting with this. And I'm not saying that it's ephemeron, you know, being used and it giving that burning sensation or anything like that. But there's enough there that you could derive that from a couple of different things. We've seen the indigo that burns purple. We've seen the incense that were blessed with the purple to also just be purples in color. That's a different article from 2 years ago that we saw when we sent that to Myth Vision and stuff. And then there's so what Amon is from what Stephen Nelson was trying to collect, and he sent me an article with different hyperlinks, was that he was deriving it from Medea's flame of fire, which is the ephemeron. Which is lilac colored flowers that grow on what they call it the naked ladies. You know, it's the meadow saffron, and it grows these little lilac flowers on them, and it only comes for a little bit and it's gone. And apparently, if you ever put that in an oil or whatever, it would sting. And there was even something how if you even kiss somebody, their lips would burn from that. Imagine the witchcraft you could do with that if you kiss somebody and their mouth felt like you had fire ants on it. I mean, that probably freaks somebody out just as a showmanship, kind of playing around with stuff, just being funny. But that was where, and obviously I'm not trying to skip over what Mandy's saying about the neologism, but that was where at least Stephen Nelson had given me some direction on where the coined phrase might have derived from. And then after that, I did write, I don't know if they published it in Mandy's books or not. I told him not to because it wasn't really the same flavor. But I did publish a bullshit white paper ultimately on how it's just a poetic interpretation from wherever he wanted to pull it from, you know, whatever, you know, and that was the final result. And we did find some purple theriacs. Even Gnostic Informant even showed us that. But no word burning anywhere to be found or even hot or anything like that. But Tiger Sharks, he's back.
Yeah. I bought this book up too. It's not.
Sorry.
Really,
We have a slide here.
That's not slides. It's a textbook. But it's not a textbook. But it's a book that was in. It's an abbreviation in the. It's an abbreviation in the LSJ, but there's no link to what it actually is. You can't click on it like all the other abbreviations on the First Is Tough site. But this is an ancient papyrus of all the dye recipes. This is all.
Cool. I haven't read this. This is why the chapter's not even really done, even when I thought it was, because I was like, we're gonna find so much more shit.
It says the ancient recipe for Tyrian purple in it, and shit like that. I don't know why it's not showing though.
It's letting me actually do the slides. So
I can do it too. It's just not showing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This will definitely
one thing
have
I
to-
want to mention too is like
But it's this. It's
people don't-
It's homonesis.
people don't know the
it's
magic
recipes
or
for
the
all
rituals.
different dyes and stuff. So,
People don't know the
Sorry.
magic or rituals. They like Dioscorides and Pliny the Elder, Dioscorides. Those were the two that were used heavily to actually to interpret the PGM, and people don't realize that. And they're like, it's the blood of a dragon, and it's like, dude, do you not realize that that's actually a name for a fucking resin from a tree?
Oh,
Like,
cool.
That has nothing to do with the blood of a dragon or whatever else.
Do you know what tree they
And some-
hypothesize that is? Just curious.
So Betts, the guy that actually translated the PGM
Betts?
into English.
Okay,
Betts,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, he wrote about it.
it.
He wrote about it, and he has his own interpretation. But there's others. It's not just him. There's like a bunch of other people that have written papers on this, but they were heavily utilizing Dioscorides, Pliny, and then later Galen a little bit into it. But you have to remember, Galen is like 2nd century, right? He's kind of late to the game.
Yeah,
So
he is.
they were utilizing them to interpret some of these things. So I mean, if somebody really wanted to actually have a debate with Amun, that's how you could do it. You could actually debate him on his understanding of the PGM, and actually pull up some of these other papers where they're utilizing not Galen, because Amun's all about Galen. He brings up other people, but you can bring up Hippocrates. You can bring up some of the others as well, that get into some of this interpretation of what it means. Because if he has his own viewpoint of what this stuff is, in some cases it has nothing to do with it. Like I've seen some of those where there's actually some things I'm like, what? Like that's not what that is. And you just have to go back to the PGM. And if he wants to debate you, I mean, you could look at how old those spells are, but you can actually tie it to some of the archaeological stuff too, because he's just reading stuff, right? I mean, evidence, these guys want to say these are primary sources. Primary sources of what? Like primary of what? And how do you know it's a primary source if you don't have the physical evidence for it? So if you're tying the archaeology to it, then it's a primary source. But if they're saying the Bible is a primary source, for what? You would have never have known of the actual drugs that they were using that we found on the altars, right? So you have to fact check it with the actual archaeology and boots on the ground work that are happening. And it continues to happen. Like we were talking about last night, they did find a baptismal place they were using a compound drug mix of henbane seeds, opium, plant material in the sediment, and even in the ceramic vessels that are 5,000 BCE. That just came out this year.
Even in
that
the vessels?
Even in vessels next to it, yeah. And then they
okay. Yeah.
And this is a European strain, by the way. You get all these goofy people like Giorgiani. It all comes from Iran. No, because we found the actual clay that was on the literal opium plants, and it's clay soil from Western Europe.
Brought down.
And it's a poppy species that was from Western Europe, not from Iran.
Well, I mean, seeds from Iran could have been brought over and then they grew it.
Not these ones, and not the ones that were also grew on the Cypriot island of Cyprus. Okay. They were utilizing the Western Mediterranean European strain of poppy, not this Middle Eastern shit.
Y'all got me interested in Cyprus.
Yeah, but that's one of the coolest things you showed me in a while, man. That
doesn't matter. Jesus walked on water, healed the sick, cast out demons. There is a complete. Well, how do I quote Richard Carrier? There is a completely obsolete paradigm of Jesus actually ever being real. That's the one thing we do know, is that the specific story we're reading is made up. But there were people a lot like him, for sure, everywhere. It was a thing back then. There were many wandering priests from Galilee, and many of them caused disturbances, says Josephus.
Yeah.
Which is late to the game too, by 80 years, but but still, there's absolutely nothing on him at all. Yeah. Caused the whole world to change. Not a trace.
I mean, we
don't live in fantasy land over here.
There's no evidence for him that exists, and unfortunately, like I know Mandy and others say that Amun's wrong because you have to prove Jesus was a real thing. He's not wrong about that, but ultimately, even if he was a fake figure, they still wrote about him, right? And were the writings about this fake god, just like they wrote about Dionysus not being a real person but a god,
or who was the
were
Cypriot
they still
dude?
doing rituals to this fucking god? Yes, obviously we're finding
Adonis, Attis, it is the ultimate combination of all the Marvel characters of the time. You wrap them all into one and put a Jewish star on top, and boom, you got Jesus, right? Supposed to get round everybody up. I mean,
That's the whole purpose of that end of the Last Temptation of Christ. Remember, you got me watch that movie. The ending of that movie is when Jesus comes back and he finds the guy preaching about him. He finds the guy preaching his story, and he's like, "Yo, this isn't the story that happened to me." And he's like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter if the story is true or not. It's what gives the people faith and hope." And
Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah. That's the point. It doesn't matter if the story is true. It's about how it gives people the hope to and the will to live.
I think it's cool as hell. I think it's just like Hercules and Achilles. I like the Jesus character a lot too. Yeah,
dude. As we mentioned last night, dude, if you had 2,000 scrolls literally destroyed by Rome's Augustus, and then even more by Diocletian, where they were literally destroying scrolls, just like the PGM that we are lost to history. That tells you that magician ritual shit was spread everywhere, dude. Everywhere.
Oh, it's way more rampant than we ever learned.
This Bible book is just a book about, it's like a satirizing story. And Mandy, I agree with that. He's not real and it's probably satire, but it's a satire based off of what they're probably really doing. Right? Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say that people were doing, like, definitely we knew there was pederasty. That's just a given. We all fucking know that was going on in the
that's
real world.
Included now. Now it's an afterthought at this point. The level of this that was rampant, and it goes back to the beginning of mankind. It's not like it started and stopped. It's like we just got rid of it 100 fucking years ago.
And they used it. The Greeks said the city states that were starting it, and there's a good source on it, really good source on it. But they talk about doing it to control population. It was a population control narrative that they were pushing, and they would make the gods, even Achilles, they would make him a part of a pederastic relationship with another god, and that's how they got these citizens to just willingly try to, go for it and sign up for it, so that they could do population control. It was a whole political thing. But as far as that being in the story, okay, but were people really doing that on the ground? Probably. I mean, if you had literally that many sources for magical papyri that were destroyed and they claimed that they were destroying them, think about it. 2,000 different PGMs, dude. 2,000.
Yeah, every time you get conquered, they destroy your history. Every time that any local tribe, bigger town, bigger armies, whether it was full Braveheart, they destroy everything about you. They kill all the men. They eunuch all the boys or sell them and put them into slavery. They make all the wives new wives, and all the kids, and they're all in servant mode for the rest of they're just brought right in, and they within one generation, all the stories are gone. All the stuff, anything written was burned. All the houses were burned. Everything was burned to the ground all the time. Constant. That's what we talk about in Antonius, was that he was constantly burning his villages. He was erasing them. He was just so brutal, not to the slaves because he was a slave as a kid, but when it came to the men, he was a whole nother animal, because he looked at them as like, every guy must die unless you're wearing a Roman tunic, you're dead. But if you're a woman or a slave, younger person, he treated them like gold. He said, don't traumatize them any more than they already are, because he knows what it was like to be a slave. And so there's kind of this weird light switch with Antonius. Because back then, I did include one statement when Antonius, as a kid, him and a couple of other boys that were being forced to fight for money for these Lestes that kidnapped him, right? Did the whole Julius Caesar thing. They go to kill him one night on the ship when they're there, because back then the Aegean, the Mediterranean, all that was just grand central highways all the time, So as they're on a ship, they kill the 4 dudes that got him captive, and there's a scene before they decide to finally do it, where he kind of gropes up one of the girls, one of the Lestes, dudes kind of gropes up one of the girls in front of Antonius. And he just says he knew how he abused them at night on the upper deck and stuff like that, like when everybody would be tied down below or, whatever. And, I put a little bit of that in there, but obviously it's not going to be 50,000 words of just that. I can't do that. That would not feel right at all. Oh, no, and so that's the only thing about the topics that I think really irks one half of the crowd is the fact that it's like, why does this have to be the topic? And it's like, I don't know. It's just because it really throws off the average day Christian. It's still relative today. If you said it about the Greeks, no one cares.
You
But
want
if
to
say
give
it
some
about
credit to the
Christians,
early
it
Christians, though, dude. That book, the one from Epiphanius that talks about all those early Gnostic groups, right?
Yeah.
If there were literally
Epiphanius.
2,000 different PGMs going around and people utilizing them, you don't think the shit that Epiphanius is writing about is real? Because you had a lot of people going, no, it can't be real. The Gnostics weren't doing that stuff. But dude, it's literally in the PGM and PDM and other ones just like it, like the Stockholm Papyrus and others.
Yeah.
If there were 2,000 of those fucking books going around, you don't think they were doing that shit? Hell yeah, they were doing that shit. And he wrote about it, right? And what they're doing. And a lot of people are like, I don't know, I don't think they were doing this stuff with semen. But they probably were.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past humans to try anything.
I'm pretty sure the border rights are confirmed for sure doing that stuff. But consuming semen as a magical essence is huge in the occult world. Like I have to drink water, dragon.
Well, it goes back to Marcel. It goes back to materia de anima from Aristotle, and Aristotle says the three life forces, and the third one is sperm. It's the foam, the white foam that comes out of sperm. And so they thought it was the pneuma. It was like the life essence. I know he talks about the hyema, like the blood being that, right, as the soul or the pneuma. But they also looked at it.
Blood was
the blood, yeah. So the blood, but that's why they use like a dog.
Came from blood, but it was pure, and that's why it was white. At least that classicists that argued
what it is, it was blood would like pass through the brain, and it would flip with your spirit, which would then turn it white, and that's what became your sperm. It infused with your spirit or something.
But over time, and I'll tell you this, over time, even the Gnostics changed it from being sperm. So that's my whole point, because you got guys that are like, you can't do it without a virgin. There's literally in the PGM, it says some of the rituals, like, yes, you can. You don't need a fucking virgin to do it. You can do it by yourself. It literally says that in the PGM. And then you also have different guys later on in the like 2nd century and stuff that are coming on, and there are these alchemists that are like trying to interpret this stuff from Aristotle, and they're using different things. They're not using the foam on semen. They're using the foam that they find by the sea, for example, right? They're just finding alternative things to use in this. So it's like it's never a stagnant. It's never static. It's always a changing thing. It's how people interpret it and how they want to do things. And who are we to say that they weren't doing that stuff, right? I mean, they all wrote about doing different shit.
Of course, and the stuff in the PGM are spells that span like 600 or 700 years. It's not like PGM is written in like a short period of time. That's why it contains stuff like deities from ancient Egypt and ancient Babylonian deities. It's an amalgamation of 4 or 5 or 6 or however much different types of people into one. What's the word I'm looking for? Different types of civilizations into one magical text, right? Like,
well, different cults, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And just look at the high place at Gezer. Like the Christians aren't wrong. It's funny because I always talk about this story, but the Christians report on it and they're like, hey, you know what? The Canaanites, we knew they were killing babies, and it's in the Bible, and we found it. You did, but they stopped there. They don't also report what else they found there. So they found like dead kids that, you know, they were sacrificing to Moloch. They also found snake swords and shit like that were Moloch relics, literally buried under the high place at Gezer. But they also found Cypriot opium juglets buried right next to them. So obviously they were utilizing this in a ritualistic setting. And, you know, for these people just to forget to mention the drug influence on it. But they were literally doing blood sacrifice with kids, and they were kids because they were, you know, they were using them because they were pure, they were more pure, they were virgin blood. It's unfortunate, but that's what they were doing, right? And
Yeah,
so
it's superstition at the time, I guess, or whatnot, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have the physical evidence, but you have the sad part, Marcel, that I don't like, that I wish Amen. See, when I first heard of Amen, he was like coming at it from this angle of, I also have a degree in microbiology, and I was like, oh, cool. He's going to bring a lot of the science in with it too. I haven't seen a lot of
Yeah,
the science at all, to be honest with you. And
yeah,
another thing I don't like is, and with the science, I thought he was going to do a lot more archaeological stuff. And he throws and sprinkles some in there, but I'm more the other side. I'm more like leading with the physical evidence and then look for text that can back it up or help translate a little bit of what's going on. But I don't go text first, because a lot of the shit that's written, like they're just, either we don't know because we don't have anything for it, or you're just speculating at best because, again, you don't have anything for it. And the best form of evidence is two-part. It's one, absolute physical evidence, or relative evidence, which is supporting physical evidence around that one thing. So one example of that would be, well, maybe we didn't find the cannabis, but we found what they were smoking it out of, right? So you have a relative, like bong, for example, and then you have the cannabis that you can actually do residue testing with. So they're finding more of that, and I think more and more people are actually signing up to do graduate programs for their PhD and this in archaeology. It's pretty badass. So I think there's going to be a flood of like PhD, dissertations coming out, more papers coming out on this topic, because it's easier to do nowadays with the science, with the actual mass spec to actually measure these. So I see a ramp up in that, and I think anybody that's on the other side of this that thinks that, oh, this wasn't going on or that's not happening, I think a lot of them are about to be dumbfounded and also change their view a little bit. But it's already there, like it's already existing. But there's going to just be more and more of it coming out to further. I mean, Petra of all places, Jordan and Petra, John Wick in the fucking movie John Wick, for all crying out loud. They're doing Syrian rue because they found a stash of seeds next to a fucking woman that was dead there. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. I mean, this stuff isn't that hard to notice that they were obviously using these substances. And were they all doing it in this weird culty ritualistic way like the PGM? Probably not. Right? You probably had some that are like half normal that weren't killing kids and stuff. But the other stuff is probably not off the table as far as Amon's talking about.
yeah. I don't know.
Sorry, I had to go to the latrine.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Oh, that's your green screen effect. That's what I'm seeing. I was wondering.
So I have a comment here that says archaeology is controlled, though. Too much fakery. Look, if Flint Dibble has done his best to make Graham Hancock look like an idiot, I've seen other guys do the same thing to Graham Hancock beforehand, like that long-haired kid that has an archaeology show or something.
Oh, Milo. I like Milo. Milo's pretty good.
Yeah. There's another guy that went to Brazil or the Amazon, and he's like a snake anaconda guy who was on a couple of different podcasts, and he was making fun of Graham about being this fake archaeologist. There's one thing that he says that I think is true. Everything else has had plenty of people look at it and go, nah, I don't think that's what he's saying. Fine. But there's one thing that I think is true. And I think that we had some bigger pyramids here, and we had a big old Sphinx that's older than we say. And I think we tried to recreate that. And that's why there's so many shitty pyramids that were built afterwards that they say is from before. But it's like, no, we tried to do it, and we're squatting in someone's old mansion, and we put a bunch of graffiti all over the walls, which is what humans are big into doing. We like to graffiti up a place, hieroglyphs and stuff.
But trying to speculate about a civilization before the Ice Age is basically impossible to prove. But do I think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Do I think civilization existed before the Ice Age and could have been as advanced as the Greeks or Romans back then?
I think we started over. I think we were getting ahead and we started over.
Like man. I think civilization has rose and fallen probably many times due to many cataclysms. It's just you never prove that shit, right?
Well, I mean, take plastic, because that's the one thing people are like, well, we would find like metals and plastic and garbage and shit and waste if it was a high advanced civilization. But even that stuff breaks down. So like if you're talking millions of years and like tectonic plates are moving and subduction's happening, and then you also like plastic, your average plastic water bottle will break down. Like just go look it up. It's like 1,000 years. It'll break down. It's not gonna be here for fucking ever.
They didn't have plastic in the Greek time, so like maybe they didn't have plastic before the Ice Age either.
That's why that Giorgiani thing is retarded, because he's like, they found some metal thing in an outcrop that they say is 3 million years old. I'm like, dude, that first off, that piece of metal wouldn't be sitting there for 3 million fucking years.
I know the book he's talking about, Forbidden Archaeology.
I just don't think it's higher advanced civilization because it's got that stigma on it. But I just think civilization and language and communication existed long before we think it did, and it probably happened many times. And civilizations risen and fallen. It's just that proving anything before the last ice age is basically impossible. The problem is using the word advanced makes people think of computer chips, plastic, and shit like that, right?
Well, they did find. So, did you guys hear about that? It was like 40,000 years old. They found in like I think it was Germany in a cave. They found like proto-cuneiform, basically writing.
Yeah, they found 40,000-year-old tools as well, or 80,000-year-old like hunting tools and shit like that. So
tools, and they found like a I don't know. They're thinking it was like a bear or a fucking lion, but it was basically a ritualistic god. They had like an anamorphosized fucking lion in there. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's 40,000 years. So obviously way before the last ice age. So yeah, and honestly, we talked about that when I was in grad school in paleontology, and actually based on the data that we have from all the cores, it wasn't an ice age like you would think. Like they tell everybody it was an ice. It was more like a slush ball. It wasn't a fucking ice age.
Yeah, and it wasn't fully global either, I don't think.
Yeah, and they also found footprints. Like there was another one too that went back further. It was supposed to be another 125,000 years somewhere in the Middle East, and they found like footprints. And they're like, we shouldn't have found these. There was a fucking ice age, and there was like, maybe a slush ball, maybe not really. Everything was ice. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure technically we're still in an ice age right now. I think the last time I checked.
Well, we've had periods of it. Like there's recordings like in the 1600s or maybe the 1800s, something like called the Monerminium, where it's like a year that because we didn't have a lot of solar activity that year, and like it was winter like basically the whole fucking year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Winter all year. I can't imagine.
But anyway, I mean, I just think people want to pick a side. Unfortunately, I think that YouTube, like you said when I came on, basically YouTube has become this debate battleground, and so many people are entwined in this debate thing, and they'll pick a camp, and then they'll pay money to their side, and of course they're invested into it, and they just want to see debates. But I don't think it should never be a debate. It should be, let's just look at the evidence and see what's going out there. If people want to then make a conclusion off that, they can. But again, I'm not looking for conclusions. I don't really give a shit. You think I believe in this shit? I don't. Even if they were doing it, what does that got to do with me? I don't really care. Other than exposing it. That's the part that I like. I see like Amon's, to me, in my view, from what I've heard, he's exposing all this stuff. And then you got people like, no, that's not accurate. And I'm like, are you not trying to expose this shit? Are you not trying to expose how these original groups were doing things if they were doing them? Right? It doesn't matter if Jesus is not real. I mean, was fucking Dionysus real? I mean, were they doing Bacchanalias to him and all this other stuff? Was that real? Or was that just all make-believe too? And if people were actually doing these activities, then let's expose it and not repeat the shit.
Yeah, definitely not repeat the shit. That's the big point that we always try to make, is that we've looked into a lot of this stuff because of the outrage. And so anybody watching the show, it's like, we don't want to talk about this really. It's just the ongoing arguments around this, I guess, are still really trending. It makes all the people from the nooks and crannies of the world, they seem to tune into it when you start talking about it. And it's kind of like under the mainstream media, we have stuff that's similar to this, that's all throughout mainstream current events, and people are glued to it. It's a really good distraction. I'm not saying that's why other people are having those conversations about the ancient version of all this crap, but it's very eye-opening, I think, at first, to people that stumble across it, that might give it a chance to just learn a little bit more about that time period that they just never really learned about. Everybody just remembers stuff from Greece. When it comes to high school, they watched the Odyssey with Vanessa Williams. They read the first thing of the Iliad. They had some multiple choice questions on it. And that's all they ever really did. Troy came out, so they wouldn't watch the movie, or they rented it when it was on DVD or something. And that's like how people's Greek stuff, that's about as far as it was really going to go. I mean, only so many people back when you had dial-up internet were really just like on encyclopedia.com reading the same thing that we would read today on Wikipedia or something. But they don't go into any of the other stuff. Yeah, now there's more of that being talked about. And I'm not exactly sure why it's such a trending thing. I guess it's just,
I think
just
you
never would have
have
guessed.
the Ammonites. They have the Ammonites, and you talk about them, and Neil talks about them, and it's the guys that neither one of you guys like. But the Ammonites, to me, what they are, these are the people that are trying to like think it's really cool, it's a hip thing to do, and they kind of make it a cult of their own. And they're like, hey, we're gonna recreate some of this shit, right? And that's where Neil and other people are like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are doing this, and they want to do this stuff, and they think it's this and they think it's that. And that's where I think they get slipped up, him and Myth Vision, because they always think these people are like actual Satanists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but I think some of them actually are confused. I think some of the Ammonites, like maybe, I don't know, probably not a big percentage of them. It's probably a small percentage. But I think those are the ones that screwed up for all the other ones. Because you have these guys are like, I'm trying to recreate this fucking spell and do this and that and this cast this, and maybe they do it, but you're not doing that with a pederast type of situation. And if you are, you're going to jail, motherfucker.
That's why it's so weird that all these different groups they kick people out and stuff. And it's like, I know that there's some people that are just assholes and start crap, sure. Yeah. But it's I don't know. I don't want to say a lot because I don't know anything, but I can see it ruining your job if they ever found like a YouTube channel where you're doing this kind of stuff for make-believe. I can see that destroying someone's career.
Oh yeah.
Depends on what you are, but if you're in government, forget about it.
Or even like if you have a relationship. Sorry, Marcel. Even if you're in a relationship, like somebody might be like, what is all this? Like you're really into this, like I don't know. I just think that people that are really entertaining it hard, there's elements about it that they don't entertain. People in their life don't know they watch that show, like you wouldn't be telling your boss at work that you watch a Satanist teach ancient Greek.
No, but I'll take the position of the employee that does, because I can guarantee you, because I talk to high level HR people all the time. They don't take, if somebody calls the company and complains on that, they're not going to just take some random guy off the street's word for something like that. They're not, because they it's a liability to them too. And it's like a cheating. It's like a wife that's mad at the husband and he'll call up the workplace and she'll get the guy, try to get him fired and make up stories. They don't take that shit literally, dude. No, and they can't. And so like even then,
go ahead.
Even then, I don't think any of them have anything to worry about. But to your point, I've also heard that some of those people have been booted from there because they were trying to do that.
Yeah,
so
I've heard that.
Those are the ones that I agree with. That you gotta not associate with those people, and they did kick them out. Apparently, I don't know all of the ins and outs of that. But yeah, if those people are in there, they got to get them out of there immediately.
It's kind of like they're walking on eggshells because of the things that it can attract can be negative, or they can be that for real. Like you just might run into that, and then if it didn't, just no offense, but like if anybody's, just like I worked for a gym franchise that had 600 employees. If you had an Instagram and you're half naked all over it as a bodybuilder, you better be ready for every single person that you work for, even the owner of the facilities, to see you in that picture. And they did.
Yeah.
Luckily, they were like, hey, this is great. Can we put it on the website? Because that was the whole point. But still, if it was something like this, I can see establishments like just coworkers, like watching it and being like, this motherfucker's weird. They're into some weird shit. And there's nothing you can do to change how they're going to feel at that point. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, look at the Epstein list, bro. They all kept their job.
Yeah, you got to get the boss watching it, and then you won't ever get fired. Watch the show.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and it's funny because like I don't, publicly. I mean, I've hung out with, I go on their Discord and stuff like that and talk to some of them, not all of them, but some of them are definitely in the weeds. Like some of them are like, oh my God, I have to actually try to do these things. And I'm like, what are you even talking about, people? I'm like, no. And also the drug part of it, like, why would you want to, like, that's why I always bring up Paracelsus. I'm like, you guys think Galen's cool. Like, go read fucking Paracelsus. Like, he's so awesome. Like, he's way better. Most of the drug compounds that we have today are like from all of that. You ever heard of Sasha Shogun or all these other people doing cool, awesome science and, stuff with the psychedelics? If you're into that, go read that shit because it's way better than all this goofy stuff.
Read some Sasha Shogun for sure, man. That's my hero.
Him and the Liz, man. The Liz from the Liz, baby. I know Hamilton talks about him, but I think he did an episode on him too. The Liz, they were like a little group that were doing like LSD and different type of research out there in the hills outside Phoenix or Las Vegas, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff like that, and it's real literature, and you won't get lambasted at your job for it because it's legit. These people are at Harvard and Columbia, and they're doing real psychedelic research and things of that nature. And it could also be a religious exemption. So in many cases, like a workplace isn't going to care about that. But it's like you said, if you start bringing in Satan and the devil and pederasty, yeah, people are going to start going, "What the fuck is going on?"
Nobody can save your job at that point. It doesn't matter how cool you are. I mean, it's like it could definitely, and if that's the life people are going to live, or and I'm sure more people have a job than this, but I think a lot of people, I make the joke that a lot of people that watch and entertain that kind of stuff, they ain't got nothing to protect. They don't have a lot. There's no repercussions anyway for them watching it because there's no one around them that's gonna, they ain't got nothing to lose. I don't know how else to say it and not sound like a jerk. But
There's no consequences.
Yeah, there's no consequences for a lot of these people that show up in those chats. So. I mean, I got kids. They might rewatch these episodes if I ever leave them up. How I take in this information is kind of important, I'm not going to have these conversations with them about this stuff,
I think if you had a million people watching this, definitely, you wouldn't want to do that. And I think that's the point also.
And no one will watch.
Why Myth Vision and Neil don't want to touch it either is because they have more of a viewership and they don't want to upset their fans because a lot of them probably would go the other way if they started talking about it.
I mean, they got neighbors. Myth Vision gonna go walking with his wife and his kids trying to build them little bird legs up. And they all going to be like, oh, there's the weirdo that's into this or whatever. But he's going to have a very generic, diplomatic kind of show about it, which I think he's done a pretty good job at that. He's got more followers than everybody, it seems.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think he really wants to hang out with me, but, that's a different story.
Yeah. Probably, Devin, yeah. The answer to this is probably yes. That's what
I think I said he looked like SpongeBob, and I think that's it fucked him up.
Why does Danny Jones not want to? I didn't watch that last one between Amin and Danny Jones. I heard people talk about it, but apparently Danny was going in on Amin a little bit. Did you watch it?
Yeah. I saw a bit of it. It was pretty good, but. Luke Morton, or how I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but he kind of put points forward to show that Amin does kind of use language to his advantage to put forward his theatrical narrative. But that's the thing, people can't separate Amon's theatrical narrative from the bigger picture that he's actually trying to put forward, right? Because he does kind of flower language up, but that's shocks theater, it's theatrics, right? Like people can't seem to dig deeper past that part of it, right?
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
surface level hatred for sure.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But didn't Danny go in on Amon, like asking him for sources? I don't know. I didn't watch it, but people were telling me he was kind of like drilling Amon a little
The
bit.
last episode.
Maybe,
Yeah.
So I think so. It's been a while since I've watched it. I don't
Let
really
me
have
look.
guys in my brain.
I'm gonna look real quick. Let's see.
But yeah, no, he did.
Yeah, it was
he did
him.
ask-
It was a debate versus some Christian with Amon, some Christian guy that could read Greek apparently on
Yeah.
Danny's show.
Oh, yeah. It was
name,
another
yeah.
classicist, I believe.
Yeah.
And he is who.
I guess not.
I'm so sorry if I stepped on your words, bro. I know there's a
No,
slight
you're not.
delay.
Go ahead, apologize. Don't worry about it. It's good.
There is the freaking viewers seem to care more than anyone in the conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, that's fine.
You're interrupting them. Like, I don't ever talk on this damn show. What are you talking about?
For one,
I let everyone else talk more.
It's
Ancient language expert, no.
Yeah, I think that's no. Let me find it. Real quick.
I know what the guy looks like, but there's gonna be clips, and then there's gonna be the whole episode, which is 3 hours.
Oh
or so.
no. Danny Jones has a Clips channel. There's a Clips channel or the regular channel.
Oh, he does. So it's separate. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Where's the guy?
Let me see.
He has so many people on this damn thing. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's-
I see that guy's show sometimes. The Swedish. Swedish.
I
dude.
got it right here. I got it.
Oh, here we go.
You had to type in the other guy's name. Yeah. Oh my God! I got Jesus, did you find it?
Yep.
Everybody of
An
any
opium.
age.
An opium.
All right, hold on. Let me adjust what we got going on here. Okay, this is actually pretty good. I have it shared screen with the 4-way, so that's not bad. So the question is where do I go? All right, so Greek translations, the oldest pieces of Hebrew. In my book, I put the shekel of Tari.
Oh
And it has
yeah,
the
I'm
moment
shit all over this what brought up this ancient stone or ancient thing they found that's got Proto Hebrew on it or some shit like that. I was like, Proto Hebrew, what the fuck was that?
Okay, so you keep harking on this thing, just speculation. Then in your work, we've already noticed that a lot of what you do is speculation.
No, give me an example.
Yes, we've already talked about this.
What?
Okay,
Give me an example.
like the earlier thing.
The
we were debating.
fellatio?
The fellatio, pure speculation.
No, it said it was a euphemism. It said it's a euphemism. I didn't say that.
Okay, when you speculate that that's what that word means in that context, it's pure speculation. Now we can go to Vegas and put odds on it, but you don't know that. We've already
When it says
covered
the
that ground. You
thumb
don't
is in
know
his hand,
that.
When
You
it
don't know
says the
that.
thumb is in his hand,
You don't know that.
you don't think.
Okay.
See,
Another thing.
Something's wrong. There's
something
a
is
wall
wrong,
here.
Alvin.
There's a
Something is
wall
wrong,
here.
Alvin. So it seems
Put up the semicolon.
it seems like you think that texts are divine. Like you think that it's in the texts. That's all we got. Texts are divine.
No, I'm a
Okay.
classical philologist. That's all I do is text.
That's a problem because you have to have context for the text.
Ah.
There's more to just
Right.
what we're doing than just what the text is. We have to analyze it. We have to say, is this text wrong? Is it right? Who wrote it? What's the
And
propaganda angle?
what was everyone else saying in
Sure,
different
absolutely.
professions surrounding that?
Yeah.
Like doctors or
Yeah.
lawyers or
Yeah.
physician or whatever, philosophers.
Yeah. Can we return to Sabachthani because there's several more
My
points.
speculations.
Yeah,
I want to hear
Let's
more
let's
about
let's
my
wrap
several-
up.
there's
Let's
several
wrap this. I
more
want to
points
move on after
Okay,
this.
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, Amen, what did you say about the Chthon? You said it's connected to Chthon.
Chthonian
Greek.
divinities.
Okay.
correct.
All right. So let me point out the methodological problem with the way that you're approaching this word. It seems that you're saying, hey, look, there's this word that doesn't appear to be in Greek because it's nonsense in Greek. Sabachthani doesn't mean anything in Greek, but there's a part of it that looks like a word that is Greek.
It's not nonsense.
There's a part of it.
No,
Chthon-
it's not. No, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
That's not what I'm
It's
saying.
Aramaic.
It's not
It's Aramaic.
nonsense. Sabachthon is tested in the PGM. You can go and look at a goddamn
Sabaoth.
ion wall.
Are you mixing
and
up
see the
Sabaoth
ion.
and Sabachthani?
Do you know who the god Ion is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Let's go.
What does Ion give the Jew or the Christian?
What are you talking about?
Ionic life. It's why he's sitting
Yeah, it
in
means
the
eternity,
synagogues.
Ion.
Yes, and Idios. Why does that also mean eternity?
What does this have to do with subactonics?
What is I no no
Okay, we
because
focus
listen,
here. Let's focus.
listen, I'm telling you, read so much Greek. I can
So
show
you can mystically see things that
No,
nobody
I
else,
can
even
sh-
me, cannot see.
No, I'm showing you what experience does.
Oh,
I
so
can
20 years
read
not
to you.
enough.
I can
Am I going to
bring
learn
you
this in year 30,
an
32?
apocryphal-
When am I going to get to this?
I'm going to bring you, when I bring you an apocryphal text that
Hey, bring it on,
uses
bring it on.
ionic right next to eternal, idios.
Okay.
And you will see the difference, but you haven't because you are trusting in Jesus.
What are you talking
are
about?
trusting in that text. You are the one who's making this
I have no idea what you're
divine.
talking about right now.
Yes,
Do
no,
you, Danny?
you
What are
don't have
talking
the-
about?
Lost.
Listen,
No,
listen. Have you read
Was it?
Philomenus?
does it matter? Why does it matter?
I'm asking
you have to
you,
prove
have
me
you
why
read
it matters.
Philomenus?
Not most of it. Why does
So
it
you
matter?
have no idea what's
As-
in Philomenus, correct?
Hey, we're reading Mark
No,
Philomenus
correct.
right now.
If I told you
Yeah, let's
Philomenus,
try to
trying
stay,
to-
let's
you're
try to
trying
stay
to
on
distract
topic.
the conversation.
Corroborate. I am.
Trying to
It's
distract the
becoming more
conversation right
confusing
Okay.
trying to bring in all this other stuff that
Yeah,
it's
I don't even
like
know what
Wait,
he's talking
pause
about.
it.
Okay, so I want to get back to what
which
we're talking about
topic?
with
Pause it real
phone
quick.
here because I'm going to interrupt me when I was trying.
Yes.
So this is what I've noticed is that Amin was he's actually correct about the PGM having that. The problem is these guys don't know that because they haven't, especially Danny. He's like, you're confusing me now because you're bringing all these other sources.
Danny's a
And
bro.
that's
Yeah.
that's one of the issues with Amin when he's trying to explain this. He's saying it because he knows it, but he also identified that he hasn't read it, and that's true. And it's hard to have a conversation because in order to answer the guy's narrative of calling him like you're just thinking this is the divine thing, he would have to bring up other sources in order to prove his position. But in many cases, he doesn't do that much of, especially on a show, because he'll just bring up the word and he's like, it's here, see, and like people are like, yay, but it's like in a bunch of other places too. And so I think there's a lot of confusion, mass confusion. That's why I say a lot of the literature that talks about the same stuff is dense as fuck. Like literally 3/4 of the page is nothing but citation. You read like fucking two lines and the page is done.
In that interview, Amin says, "I've seen the word sabathani in the PGM," and Luke goes, and then the word sabathani isn't in the PGM. It's sabaoth. That's what Luke just said. It's sabaoth in the PGM, not sabathani.
Yeah, but but you have to remember, Marcel, the PGM isn't just Greek, my guy. It's not just Greek.
Yeah, I know. I'm playing it what just happened there. Luke says it's
Yeah,
not
but you made the
sabathani.
mistake that guy made because that PGM text is actually 3 languages in one. It's not just Greek.
I'm not agreeing with Luke here. I'm just saying like that. I'm just reiterating what just happened, what we just watched.
Yeah. But that's where Amin's coming from, which is why it's confusing, and that's why Danny Jones is like, and then he brought up another author to try to make it a softball, and the other guys are like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about now. You're just confusing us.
Yeah.
All right. I'll play a little bit more of it. Let's see if we can get anything cool here.
Yeah.
Talk about this. So Amin's methodology seems to be, hey,
What's
I'm
that?
gonna find a timestamp for you. So let me find a timestamp in the video.
Okay, I'll hold.
I'm gonna look for. There's a timestamp where they're both looking at the LSJ, and I'll see.
Okay.
Where we just.
No worries. I have different entertainment devices at my
Yeah,
disposal.
so you guys can.
All right, we're watching Lady Witch Doctor play The Division live while he's looking that up. Everybody use the bathroom, could take a piss, hit the bowl, whatever.
I didn't have a million ads.
Love you, baby. She's right here, y'all. She's the gamer. I'm trying to be as good as her. She shoots better and everything. So we need a camera just facing her in the corner.
Electronic device detected.
Don't lift the God's sake. I am. And do you know what I see? What? Nothing.
Well, it's gonna be too hard to find. I've
Endless
played
days
one of those.
of nothing. It's all gone. We think we can...
What's that?
It's gonna be too hard to find quickly. It's gonna take me like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna take too long. So I'll just find
But
it
yeah, I
first.
mean, the method thing, I mean, everybody on YouTube doesn't have a method. And if they do, they cherry pick every single day. Like Neil's like, I believe it's a myth. And then he's like, yeah, but Jesus said it's Fisher. Like, which one is it, dude?
We're having
it's
to
like
assume what the authors were thinking, which is why my book is just a play on who the authors are. It's completely random in a way. I took all the movies we grew up with and had the essence behind it all with Gladiator and Jesus, Passion of the Christ, and Gladiator meets, that's because why not? We're never going to get a clear answer on who wrote any of the stuff and where it started, but it had to come from somebody who's, how do I say this? It had to come from someone who was a quote Nicholas Sparks of the time. Not that their name being the thing that was important, but just their reach had to be that powerful. So it had to be backed by something, I think, not necessarily financially, but maybe definitely with scribes being provided for this.
Oh, I found it.
I don't think it's a Jewish scripture, though. I think it's almost like they had a Septuagint and just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I would need more there, and that's kind of where I'm at a sticky point with writing Marcus. Is I'm trying to incorporate the right characters to end up drafting the first letter to Corinthians and the first few chapters of Mark, and then them going and saying the stuff in the crowd. So Antonius is a gladiator instructor now, and he's spent years getting to winning the crowd with blood. Now he's winning them with words, and he's saying this stuff to the crowd, and he's getting the same applause, and so I'm stealing some of Mandy's ideas. There's going to be a Mandy Moorhall character. There's going to be a funny little dwarf suggestion and stuff. You got to put a dwarf in there. We got to use a dwarf for the garden scene. Like it's going to be completely making fun of everybody today in the conversation we're having about it in the book. But like Mandy said, it's very post-humanism, postmodernism. So it's very contemporarily written, the way it feels when you're reading it, and it moves at the speed of a movie. Let's say that how there's a book and you make it into a movie, how you have to edit out so much crap to condense it to 2 hours. This book's ready to just be the movie. It's got just enough time per scene. You could make this a screenplay almost just immediately. But Tiger Shark might be frozen. No,
I'm not frozen.
No, he's not moving.
My screens will freeze y'all here and there, but they won't be to the audience. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
But yeah. So we can't find that necessarily.
No, I found it.
Okay. Yeah. What you got?
It's Have I played this? Were you guys here?
Iskrotes,
I
right?
scrolled this.
And all of this is using the beautiful, glorious Greek root alpha, iota, sigma, he, right? That rho is hanging on there, can come off or not, but the iskron is that which is just awful, ugly, deformed. Oh, look, it's in his hand. The iskrotes.
Yeah. So you see the main definition of ugly is deformity.
Iskrurgia is the working of this shameful thing.
Committing iskrotes, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
It's filthy conduct.
And you
Ugliness,
notice,
deformity.
You notice it's a euphemism for fellatio, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But why is it? So I'm curious. Why is it? So they're associating filthy conduct with fellatio.
Yeah, because these are Victorians, right?
Okay, so this is something now for the listeners. The three of us have had a text discussion or a text thread for the past few months.
Yes.
Amin sent this to the thread a few weeks ago, and I pointed out at the time that semicolon is very important. Right after Ephesians 5:4, there is a semicolon. Amin, what does that semicolon mean to you? What does it mean to you?
You surprised me. As a Greek reader, it means nothing to me.
Well, that's a problem. It means something very
it means
important.
it's an and as an English reader, and it's a euphemism,
separating two
as
things
you
there.
see from the Scholiast,
The
on
Scholiast on Aristotle,
Aristophanes,
frogs.
right?
Sorry, Aristophanes, frogs.
Frogs,
right?
1308.
Yep, we agree with
and
that.
then they refer to you the general term eiskrosune,
Mhm.
right? Which is which Tzitzis is going to
Sure.
talk about,
Sure.
right? And his comment.
I don't
Tzitzis is Byzantine.
All right.
Greek.
What
Danny-
to you? What does that colon mean?
It's separating two different things that are pretty different here. Okay, so specifically, it's separating two places in which this word iskrotes has been used by two different authors at two different times and places. Before the semicolon, what we see is filthy conduct, epistle to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 4. Okay. And in that use, and we can go look at that if you want, but I don't think this is particularly controversial. The author of Ephesians is simply saying, don't engage in iskrotes, right? He doesn't define it. I think because I think he's being vague.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he necessarily has one particular dirty thing in mind when he says that. Right? I don't think he does.
The aselgeia.
Imagine being able to build.
Oh no. Okay. So anyway. Well,
Again, the guy's like trying to cover, like Amon's just exposing this. And yes, everybody knows that Paul was writing the letters to the church. The audience was the church. Like, you don't even have to read Greek to know this. He was speaking literally to the church members not to engage in this activity. That's what it was. When he's talking about homosexual activity, he was literally talking to the church members not to do it because they were doing it. So,
it
has to be happening to say not to do it.
Luke was trying to explain how Amon misuses the LSJ to pick the foods he wants and shit. But either way, I'm not a classical philologist, so I don't know who's using it right or wrong. But
no, you can look up the verses, dude. Look up the verses when Paul's talking. He's like, even the people in the church know this, and their explanation is that they were just like, he was just talking to pagans. Like, they're like, oh, they were early church members. They're just pagans. They didn't know any better. Like, that's the church's explanation of it. But I look at that kind of like, but they're church members and they're doing this, and he has to tell them, and then he has to go around to other ones and tell them, like, I mean, it's not like.
Y'all ever known a guy that, like, every time you talk to him, they're always cussing a lot? Or if you ever meet somebody and every time, I mean, some people it's like in the army and stuff, it's like, it's abnormal, it's F-bombs way before he's even mad, and he doesn't know with this person. Well, and there's also people that are constantly being perverted. Usually it's teenagers and stuff. And Amon just kind of reminds me of somebody that just likes to do that. He likes to just be that way. He likes to be kind of perverted a little bit, and he uses the material to do it. And I'm not saying that, I don't know how to describe that, because it's not like it's for any real enjoyment. I think when you're young and you make fun of stuff and you crack jokes, you know how to irritate people. A lot of that energy is there. It's
it's just humor.
It's said, it's very nonchalantly done, so that people that know what he's doing are laughing. People that don't, they're kind of now part of the entertainment too.
They think it's real, so they get freaked out by it, right? They're like, "Oh my God, he's actually doing this on like he's whipping the floor, and I can't believe he's doing that," right?
Yeah.
Get
out of this screen. What is wrong with you?
Right?
It's never going to be okay. Okay, I'm having an adult conversation.
It's flipping the whole situation on its head. Flipping on its head. It's like 120 days.
Yeah. I just
flipping the high society of the time on its head. It's like 120 days of Sodom to me is like the Epstein files of the day. It's like the American Sodom was revealing how the upper class at the time were doing shit that they shouldn't have. Jesus, I'm stuttering. Have to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, Amon does expose Epstein. Like almost every show, he brings up Epstein too, and Trump, to expose them and what they're doing, and their activities. But I mean, he tries to tie it in there. But I don't know. People just take it the wrong way. They don't want to hear about Epstein. They don't want to hear about all this stuff, so they run the other way. it's not only just ideology, it's about what people want to listen to at the end of the day. So I think people just want to go away from that. Like there's literally people that are repulsed by the guy, right? Like, and it's not even him, like as a person, it's just like what he's talking about.
Yes,
And so
yes,
even though it's like when that first Epstein stuff came out, like I didn't even want to hear about it either. I'm like, I knew this stuff was happening and we all know it's happening, but I don't want to hear about it every day.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't hear about it as often, but it wasn't like I had heard the Achilles thing back when the movie came out. I didn't know it before then, but I knew it after, like just reading about the different, I don't know, we're talking 2003. So what do you have? Like encyclopedia.com and the encyclopedias in my house. And it's all just the generic stories and stuff. But then there's always like that one like girl that's like into like poetry that talks about it, and she knows like more about it because she's actually read the stuff and everything. It's like, yeah, didn't realize that, or when 300 came out. At first, nobody really ever mentioned any of that. And then it was like 10 years later, everyone's like, you realize the Spartans, they were doing like this and that and that. Like, because now enough YouTube documentaries had come out about it. Different movements had highlighted the past. Like there's one trans person that has episodes on the galley and the Inari. That makes perfect sense to me. Why wouldn't you talk about that if you're literally in that kind of lifestyle? You're just showing people how long it's been around. And not only how long it's been around, but how they had religious officials were these kinds of characters and stuff, the Archigallus and whatnot. Roman officials in charge of like making decisions and stuff. Like it was a whole nother thing, and I certainly had never heard any of that.
It's political. I mean, even Doce and Ganymede. I mean, all of that stuff was political, right? It was a way, and they literally wrote about it, and it spread to other city-states that were having issues with overpopulation. There's actual decent scholarship on it, but people don't want to read it. And then so they hear him talk about it, and like, this is not true. That's not what was happening. There's no way. But there's actually a bunch of ancient quotations, like all of your favorite philosophers from Greek writings and whatever, like they wrote about it. So I mean, if you just asked a random person, like, who's your favorite Greek philosopher, and they said somebody, there's probably a good like 80% chance that they're one of the ones that wrote about it. Wrote about how they were making the gods in these pederastic relationships in ancient Greco-Roman time.
Yeah, it was common everywhere too, not just Greece. Like the samurai had relations with the young boys they would train, and so did monks and stuff like that. Like it was relationships with older men with younger boys was very common all over the place. It wasn't just a Greek thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, So I mean, these sources exist, but I some people just take it into these weird narratives to where they themselves, just have their own method or be right or wrong or whatever, debate and try to win an argument over somebody else. I mean, you see Neil kind of doing it where he's bringing on in a bunch of people that are considered the Ammonite cult, the Ammoniscos, what do you want to call them? They're coming over, and they're debating whether they know it or not. They're debating Neil because Neil doesn't like Ammon. And so it just turns into this free-for-all debate session where you have people coming in trying to be right or wrong about what source exists, which one doesn't exist. And I think it's kind of like, but if you're not reading the sources he is, how are you going to say that they're not correct? I just don't get that. Read them, talk about them, and move on. Like we don't sit here and hearken on this, and we don't tell people like, hey, this is exactly what was, we don't do any of that. We just kind of present data, and then we let people make up their own mind. If they want to think, that freaking the Thyrsus was a damn artichoke on a stick, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I prefer operating on maybe logic, I guess.
Artichoke.
I don't know, if you can't prove something is true 100% with a shadow of a doubt, then I don't know, man. I just don't like believing things. Like it's things are maybe to me because I can't prove them. Right? Maybe this or maybe that. What's the probability of it? How probable is it? is the question I think of. Like, you know,
Yeah, and the other sad part too is, and I asked that to Cross Bible because they were the ones, they had an episode on it, and he was like talking like, oh well, we know this and we know that and we know that didn't happen. And I'm like, but how do you know if like the literature is only 85, 85% of it lost? And he was like, he kind of like paused and he was like, oh yeah, because
that,
you always hear people take these different debate tactics and they're like, yeah, but that's just what do they call God of the gaps theory or whatever, or just be we don't have the evidence, so it doesn't mean it's not real or didn't happen. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, but you're the one making these claims that things didn't happen, and you yourself don't have the evidence either, or you have a little bit of evidence but you don't have all of it, so you're still making these claims. And it's like reality should just be put out the data, put out the evidence, and let people read it and decide and kind of make these little maps like they do and say, well, this happened here and this happened there. And they try to link them. And there's all these parallelisms that, a lot of people in the Amun crowd, that's what they do. And they're very good at doing these parallel things. But again, it's like if there's all of this activity happening around the Levant, around Egypt, around the Mediterranean, around Anatolia, it would be very difficult to take the position that this was not happening, right? It's like you're just be isolated and surrounded by all these cultures that were doing similar things, but for some reason you're not doing it. Like that's a way harder position to take. But that's the position of a lot of Christians, right? And I think that's what Amon's trying to attack. That's kind of the methodology without it being the method, but that really is the method. It's just an overwhelming abundance of information that says that they were doing these things. And then these guys go, no, that's not what's happening. What are you talking about? That's not how we interpret these texts. That's just a metaphor. It's not real. But if the cultures around it were doing it and it was real, then that could change the narrative and it could change the way that people look at things. So whatever. I mean, the data is the data. We'll keep gathering it. We'll keep putting it out there. Marcel and I will read books and, bring up the literature, and people can go find it themselves and read it and use it how they want to use it. You got anything, Marcel? Anything new cooking?
Oh, no, not really. I was reading a cool graphic novel today with inspired by H.P. Lovecraft stuff. And one cool thing in it was there's a language that it permeates through H.P. Lovecraft's mythos of Agro, and the language itself is the psychedelic. The language is what is the door to the threshold. It's really cool because it kind of implies to the embodiment of language we were talking to last night. It's like this language the language is a psychedelic. It's a cool perspective. I mean, it's totally fictional. It's H.P. Lovecraft, but I thought it was neat. There's Alan Moore.
There's definitely even spells in the PGM that have nothing to do with, medical things. It's all just, some of them is just making idols. Some of it's having chants and invocations via voice or imagery. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what that is in my mind. It's kind of similar to that stuff. Witch Doctor loves tarot cards. We all know Witch Doctor loves tarot cards.
I think that tarot cards and the artwork on them and the concept, so cool. Do I think that they're actually predicting anything? I unfortunately do not actually think that people are actually predicting anything particularly, but it's in my brain, it's just as cool as like horoscopes and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't agree with the religions. So it's kind of hard to think that other metaphysical, like physical stuff that has a metaphysical connotation in any kind of way or manipulation. It's hard to really commit to that, knowing just how hard it is to break a veil, to see that other side. I definitely don't think that just, incense and different things and altars and stuff. Now, look, I want to make movies and like films and stuff, and all of that's going to be in it though. It's all part of what we have, the characters we're writing about, the different things. I mean, it's very creative. It's art type thing, but I don't look at it as factual. That's just me personally. I'm sure people, they do, or it's just fun for them. and that's fine. They're not hurting nobody with tarot
Yeah,
cards. Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
getting hurt. No one's getting scarred for life from tarot cards. You know what I'm saying?
That's
From
what
my
the-
perspective.
Did you guys ever see that interview with Chris Angel? And I know a lot of people don't like Chris Angel, but he was like,
Okay.
you know, I came across a bunch of people that the one on Steve-O, because Steve-O had asked him the question. He was like, do you believe in tarot cards and all that stuff? And he was like, I got to tell you, he said, the reason why I don't believe in like palm reading and tarot cards and all that stuff is because if these people were doing it real, they'd just all be millionaires walking around.
Yeah.
No
Like
one
telling
predicted
fortunes.
COVID. Nobody saw COVID coming. Where this Iran war? What the hell? Actually, we did see that coming. They put it in freaking Top Gun Maverick, the movie. They literally just put exactly what they did in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, man, this is a joke at this point. These motherfuckers.
Well, I
are playing
believe
with
too, like, you know, Chris Angel is an interesting guy, not him in particular, but what he does, because it's not magic, it's just illusionism. And the
It is.
illusionist, if you read about that, like, it's way different than a magi, but those people existed too back in ancient times.
Yeah, of course. And
showman.
some of Chris Angel's stunts are pretty wild. Like he actually did a suspension from a helicopter. It's not fake. Like the guy did a bike suspension from a helicopter. Like that's pretty badass. If you ask me. That's bike suspension is wild.
David Blaine.
Well,
David Blaine does some stuff.
yeah, but some of the stunts are pretty dangerous. Like it's not like it's fucking child's play, you know.
This
My
dude is.
friend's mom did a tarot reading on me. My friend's mom, I met her for 4 hours, and dude, she knew shit about me that nobody knows. It was wild, man. Like, oh,
Really?
it was insane. Like, she just knew about all this crazy trauma, like detail. It wasn't vague. She just knew all this weird shit. Like, it's so fucked up, man. And I only met her for like an afternoon, and because she lives on the other side of Canada, and she came to visit my friend when his father passed away for the weekend. And she didn't tarot reading on me, and I'm telling you, man. Like I'm not like it's not my thing either, but like it was
But
insane.
some stuff will convince you. Yeah, like
Oh,
it's pretty
man,
interesting.
It's wild, man. I cried uncontrollably for like an hour. It was that insanely powerful. Like
I would love for somebody to try to do that to me.
it
Just
was so good.
to see it. Yeah.
But she just knew all the stuff about my mom and stuff I never told anyone before. It was so wild, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if these people ever, you know, and I'm not saying anything about it. I wonder if they ever don't or can't read people.
Probably, but like, this is
I'd like
just-
to hear them talk about like how they can't sometimes, and then
No,
like,
they
be,
can't.
like,
No.
super
He
accurate.
Chris Angel talks about it too in that interview. Because he's
He
around
can't
all
all-
of them. Like he's around all these people. Like, and he gets a bunch. He used to get a bunch of people that came up to him and tried to like read his palm and all this stuff. And he was talking about it, but he knows their gimmick because he's been around it, and so like he knows the questions they're gonna ask, and he knows how to like basically expose it because it's just it's a script basically that they're doing, and it's all based on probability of like you having a brother or sister or whatever.
Yeah, it's called cold breeding. I think it's the term for it. Cold breeding.
Yeah, it'd be cool to kind of like get some, like if I could go through like a course on that, like a psyop type of course on how people
I'll
do
send
that.
you-
That'd be so cool.
I'll send you the video, the interview with him and Steve-O, so you can watch it because it's
Yeah.
pretty. I mean, I'm not into that, but I know that guy's like been in it his whole life, so he knows something about it.
Right. Yeah. So I don't really know how long I'm gonna go live. I was gonna just be live for till everyone got bored, pretty much. Chase, I haven't heard from Chase. Anybody talk to him?
He sent us a WhatsApp message like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, did he? Cool. Let me look. I've just been hanging out with Lady Witch Doctor and little Steven, who is fighting her every minute of the way to pull on the controller.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I see his message. Let me see if I can just send him the thing. Sometimes he doesn't see the emails. and he won't know we're live because he'll be working and stuff. That'd be
So
good.
did you get your is your thing working? The
Oh yeah, it's working great. Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
I got all my colors and stuff put on it, and I had to reformat the other hairstyle I had to run a little better. But yeah, it works great. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it was working.
That's it. Okay, sent it
Yeah,
to
I'm
Chase.
probably gonna
What's
I'm
up?
probably gonna jump off. I gotta get some stuff done here, but
Yeah,
it
me
was good
too.
talking to
I
you
got
guys.
stuff. Yeah, for sure, bro.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Take care, bro. I'll probably go live a few times this week, just random different times. As long as I ain't got a whole lot to do. We've done a lot today, but you know.
Is your baby crawling yet? Is he already going or
So he's standing up completely,
nice?
but he
There you go.
kind of scoots and then he'll stand up, you know, and then he scoots and then he stands up, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's doing good. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I'm about to play with him some and kind of give my wife a break for a second. But hey, guys,
Hell
Chase probably can't. I
Yeah.
just sent it to him, but we're about to jump off. So
There's always another day.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So guys, anybody watching? Just tomorrow night, I'll randomly go live. It'll be me probably streaming Lady Witch Doctor playing, or myself, or Ghost Recon, or whatever, until we get guys on, you know. So oh my shit. So people that rewatch these, yeah, just fast forward, you know, 20 minutes or so, and you'll see Tiger Shark pop up, or you'll see Marcel or Chase pop up. And yeah, we want to look at more stuff, but we've just been trying to go live more often just to kind of get the energy going and get the channel just more exposure and whatnot. We've already done so much on the channel. We have to literally go over everything again, kind of, to have material. But we have some projects coming up that we're all going to be a part of that I'll talk about a little bit more, which is why we need Chase, because I'm looking at cameras for production. So yeah, anyway, we're going to have a Texas crew and we're going to have a Florida crew, and we're going to start recording some stuff and putting together a show. It will happen. So anyway, look forward to that. And if anybody has any questions or stuff you want to talk about, you hit me up at witchdoctorchristianity@gmail.com. Peace. Oh, and I wasn't ready for the end stream.